morning. Happy Thursday. I'm Mary Corrado from Mary Corrado Interiors here in Portland, Oregon. Today we are going to work on some decorative objects. These are what I'm talking about. These are these pretty little reproduction plaques that I am going to show you how to paint and gild. Okay. Again, we're going to turn the camera down. We always use clean slate whenever we get started. It will wash away any dirt, any wax, anything that's maybe on this surface that will not be very kind to your paint. So you want it to start with a fresh, clean surface to really let your paint adhere. And while we're doing this, why don't you take a second and come on and say hi. Tell us where you're from, and if you share this video with 3 friends, well, your name will go into a drawing. And if you are the winner of the drawing, we will send you a can of Amy's One-Step Paint. So it is worth putting your name in there. Share this with some friends. If you have any questions, we will get back to you. Today I'm going to use Amy Howard's Bauhaus Buff One-Step Paint. This is one of the most popular light colored kind of white paints. It's not pure white. It has a lovely creaminess to it, but it is one of her best-selling light colors. And I find this one a really versatile color. It's really lovely. There you go. Start painting. We are going to get this everywhere. 100% coverage. Now this one-step paint is a water-based paint. No VOCs. It is super easy and super versatile. So you will love this for furniture, for decorative objects, for fabric, for so many things. Let's get it into all of these crevices. Go ahead and pounce. There's a bit of a texture anyway to this, so it doesn't have to be a perfectly smooth finish. Okay, and as you can see, I have 2 of these, 2 different designs, but they're so pretty together. So if you can find pairs of these kind of decorative objects, I highly recommend you pick up both of them. Okay, I think that's good for now. I'm going to pull out the blow dryer. Don't want to pick it up right this minute. It's all wet. So I will get the blow dryer and I will come back and show it to you when it's dry. Okay, I've just done both of these with 1 coat. Great, great detail in this relief. These are awesome. I do love these. So our goal here is to make these look like plaster reliefs from a long time ago with some pretty gold gilding on them. Okay, so I'm going to do 1 more coat on these. I'm going to come back and we will start work with the gilding, so you don't have to watch that whole process all over again. Okay, these now have 2 coats of one-step paint. Our next step is we are going to give it a light sanding where needed. It doesn't have to have the whole thing sanded, but just to smooth out some of the edges. I use a 400 grit extra fine sandpaper. Just give it a light sanding. This is not to age it or anything like that. It's just to make it nice and smooth if you have any little high spots or anything like that. Okay, so now we're going to want to gild this. So what we're going to do is get an artist brush, a nice flat one. This is a little wide, but it's nice and flat, easy for me to use. And what I'm going to do is take the gilding size, an Amy Howard gilding size, which is a white, very watery glue. It's what you use to attach your gold leaf. So wherever you want gold leaf is where you are going to paint on the sides. And I am going to want it all throughout this frame. So just go ahead and paint it on. You don't want it to pool or puddle, but just a nice even coat. And it will go on shiny, it will dry shiny. So it's a really easy way to see where you have it. Okay, continue to brush on. You will be able to work with this for about 45 minutes from start to finish. So once you brush it on, you have about 45 minutes to get your gold leaf onto the size for it to stick. Okay, gonna hit this with a blow dryer, let it dry a little bit so it comes to tack, which means your fingertips will kind of stick to it a little tiny bit when you lightly touch it. But I'm going to let it come to tack, and then we will lay our leaf. I'll show you how to do that. You want to make sure that it is dry enough. It does need to come to tack, otherwise it will never dry underneath the gold leaf, and that is not your goal. You want it definitely to be able to dry so it sticks and adheres perfectly. Okay. Okay, we are ready to add some gold leaf. And let me show you this, because the beauty of this is it's shiny. Can you see where it's shiny compared to the dull matte of the paint? So where it's shiny, that's where you have your size. And that's where it's going to stick. Okay. So now we're going to take our Amy Howard gold leaf. This is from a maker studio, also from Amy Howard at Home. It is obviously an imitation gold leaf, but it is wonderful to work with. Okay. Your books come about this large. I had cut it because I knew I was working with a smaller piece, narrower pieces, so it's easier sometimes just to work more narrow, depending on the size of yours. Piece you're working on. So what you do is there's the leaf. You fold back and you hold it with whatever is your dominant hand, and you are going to fold it so that you still are holding on to the leaf a bit. Go ahead, flip it over and pull this out and burnish down as best you can. Since there are so many ridges and crevices in this is going to be one that we go back with extra on, okay? But let's just get our first bit on here. Continue along the same way, fold back, press it on. Give it a burnish. We're going to do this all the way around. Okay, I'm going to do that much for now. And do you see how it didn't go into some of the areas? So what we're going to do is take some of our excess and just kind of stick it in some of those missed areas. We will go back and burnish. I'm going to use my artist brush to just kind of get rid of some of this excess. Then we can go back and figure out where we need some more. Okay, I got the gold gilt all the way around. Now be patient when doing this. It does take quite a while. You can go back, fill in some of your holidays, which means some of the areas that don't get the gilt put on. And then, but what we're going to do now is we really want this to be looking much, much older. So we are going to take 4/0 steel wool and we are going to now start to antique the gilding, okay? So let's get our steel wool. Never use sandpaper when you're using gilt. You never want to rub back with sandpaper. You only want to use a 4/0 steel wool. This will take down some of the sheen and will get it dulled down so that it doesn't have that garish gold color throughout. It's okay to wear some of it off. Just wear it to your discretion. Kind of hit it everywhere, especially the edges. You will see it will have a lot of residue, so make sure we get this residue off before we wax it. Corners and edges will have the most wear, of course. But take the sheen down everywhere if you can, on the all along the frame. Okay, I'm going to take a clean brush and get some of this residue out of there. Okay, starting to wear down. I think we are ready to start waxing. We're going to use first the light antiquing wax, then the dark antiquing wax. Fill it up in the puck, and then always offload. You don't want too much wax clumped in your brush so that it transfers onto here. So what we're going to do now is we need to wax the gold to protect it, and we're going to wax the center medallion so that we can then later have dark wax and dust of ages. So we want to make sure we get wax into the crevices so dust of ages have something to adhere to. So just start waxing. Pounce it in there. You want your dust to be able to get down into those crevices where dust would naturally collect. When it comes to tack, it will be ready for the dark wax. When it comes to tack, that means it feels kind of cool to the touch and it doesn't feel as greasy as it does when you first put it on. So it usually comes to tack within about 15 minutes or so. You can help that along with a blow dryer. Just want to make sure I do have it, I can feel it everywhere. Okay, I'm gonna just kind of give it a little cup long. Okay, let me show it to you. Can you see how it's kind of worn a bit and it's not as garish? I know sometimes the camera doesn't pick up on the subtleties, but it's looking better. Okay. So we'll take our dark wax. We are very carefully going to be adding the dark wax to basically the edges and a little bit of the kind of the top tips of the relief. Make sure you offload. Start on the edges. Gives it a really nice, natural, aged look. And it adds a beautiful kind of color to it. Let me see if I can show you if you can pick this up. Can you see that little bit of darkness on there compared to like the sides? I don't know if you'll be able to, but it definitely adds a lot. Okay, so let's keep going. Now, on this lighter part, just kind of barely go over the tops of the relief. Okay. Hopefully it's a little subtle. We'll let this come to tack a bit and then we'll do the Dust of Ages. And that will be what gives it its really aged and worn look. Dust of Ages. Make sure you have your own dust brush. Dip it in. It's a very, obviously, dusty product. So generously add it to the piece. We're going to come back and buff it out. So don't be afraid of getting too much on here. Especially in such a high relief like this. This is the perfect finish to the piece. It will also buff with the wax and give the gold a really beautiful antiqued, worn down look. Okay. Make sure I have it everywhere. Now, I'm gonna let it fall off. You can just let it fall off into your surface. You can put some back in your container, whatever you like. And if you feel you need to wear a mask, please do. This definitely gets dusty. Very dusty, actually. You take a clean, lint-free rag, just kind of scrunch it up in your hand, and we are going to start buffing this. And it's kind of a hit drag motion. And keep buffing. Until you see it bringing out a really beautiful sheen. And there you go. Can you see how antiqued and grayed back all that is? It's so pretty. Now it looks old and it looks like something hand created versus what we started with. Let me turn this back up. Thank you so much for joining me again this week. If you have any questions, let us know. But thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Thursday. Bye-bye.